Alright, hi everybody, this is Descard Gaming. I am bringing you a live guide for AdMech. I did a previous one, but I thought I wanted to update it a little bit more, so I removed it. But I'm, learning a lot more things with AdMech. So what I want to try to do with this guide is go over real quick some good tips and fundamentals with them, what you're really trying to do with them. And this guide's really mainly for PvP. PvE is a totally kind of different thing, but I'm sure some of my stuff, I guess, could help against the AI. But no, this is really meant for player versus player. Again, my guide is sort of based on the ARD mod and orthodox pricing, which increases 10% on costs. Hello, Landerson. How you doing? So jumping in here, so the thing about AdMech, they're a faction that can heal all their units. So a data smith and some of their heroes can do a heal. And what else can I talk? I mean, so when you're playing against AdMech, you want to, if you're trying to kill AdMech, you want to try to kill the whole unit completely, or else probably next turn the unit is going to get restored or gradually through the turn. So they're definitely a faction that you need to focus fire, get rid of the unit, move on to the next unit. Don't leave one model alive thinking, okay, that model's not going to do too much. The only time you would want to maybe lower models and not kill AdMech if you're just trying to do as much morale damage as possible. But yeah, in general, you want to delete the unit. So, wonder if I have this. I think I have this saved here. Let's see. Nope. Trying to find. Okay, yeah. So I actually have the whole roster here. So I'll give you guys a quick breakdown of the roster. So starting with, oh, this guy's a hero. This is the Marshal. So one thing I will say about AdMech is, whoops, their buildings. Oh gosh, got them in the wrong unit. Their buildings, like their armory, their barracks, they produce ore, one food, and 2 influence. Now, why am I talking about that? Well, that's the 2 influence per production building is quite different from most factions. So they have a surplus of lots of influence. So you see 1 food, 1 ore, 2 influence, except for their expansion building. 1 food, 1 ore, 2 influence. Even their air building. But so what that means is obviously your edicts or your chants, whatever you want to call them, they cost 30. Usually it's 30. Their heroes are quite expensive. Well, the Marshal's the cheapest, but then Dominus and Manipulus 6, Dominus 8. So yeah, heroes are kind of expensive. But in general, none of their buildings give research, besides obviously the book. So what you want to do with them, since they have such high influence, you want to build the heroes, build at least 2 of the 3 heroes, or you could try to go for all 3. But ideally, a Marshal and Manipulus is. Wait, no, Dominus. Marshal and Dominus are the typical hero combo you want to go, but you always want to throw on a scroll, an icon on the first one, and then a scroll on the second one. And if you get a third one, another scroll. Influence, you don't need to go triple icon on all heroes. Your influence is going to be late game unreal. especially if you get Dominus to level 6. He gets 12 influence and 12 research, just the level 6 ability. So yeah, so in a gist, you really got to go heroes with AdMech. Another thing is their vehicles and infantry, they do okay damage, but not that great. But with heroes, they do even better damage and perform a lot better. So the Marshal is going to give more damage and then buff damage and attacks. Dominus is going to give accuracy, and Dominus is pretty tanky. You need to have wing on the Marshal and keep him safely behind your army. It's very easy to kill the Marshal. It's kind of like a pain boy. Like they die sometimes they get one-shotted or two-shotted. Tech Priest Manipulus is, I think, the same tankiness as Dominus. Again, don't think you can go right in the open with these two heroes, even if they're itemized. You want them either on an outpost or in cover, or have the army protecting them, okay, in PvP. Not too much to write about their air units. Their air units is okay. They do have a transport air unit with assault. They have a little bit of mobility problems with that mech. They're a little slow in general, but that's just for infantry. I guess the Cataphrons in the Transvector would be ideal, I guess, or Infiltrators, these two. And then you got the fighter, the Stratoraptor. It's pretty generic. It does pretty good. Good counterverse builds that go heavy in the melee department. Now, when would you go air, and like, is there a game where you're like, I need to go air? I think it depends. You need good power, so a desert location like here, and then I would go the crane tech because then you can build your air buildings a lot quicker. So picking that up. With AdMech, you can go crane or no crane, and sometimes it's better not to go crane. I'll explain why in a minute. But let's just go over the rest of the units. So Vanguards, pretty straightforward. With orthodox pricing, they don't go up in cost. So this is a good unit to spam. Good unit as a scout, sentry, to bait out your opponent to come kill it with your army and you counterattack with. If you lose a Vanguard, it's definitely not really hurting you a whole bunch compared to losing like Onager or a robot. Like, this is the lowest type of unit to lose, so that's ideal. I don't really use the hounds, to be honest. I know some act players do. Their worth is like they're good versus chaff, and they are pretty tanky with this invulnerability damage, similar to the Robo Chickens, the Ballestaris. Going to Electro Priests, this is good in 2 cluster build order. So when you're doing a build order with AdMech with 2 clusters, this is your ideal troop to mass. Rangers, very good in certain matchups that people like to go vehicle only and very little infantry. Then this is a really good alternative. Or where you just don't have great minerals but you have good food, you can go more into a infantry type build with AdMech. Infiltrators, again, these are your alpha strikers. 4 movement, they can kind of start your attack, demoral by killing a bunch of stuff, and then you go in taking less Overwatch damage because everything's demoralized, so really good. And this is sort of your cream of the crop late game infantry. They're squishy, but if you use their chance and your hero abilities, they become really, really good. They can kind of one-shot things, but that's if you're buffing it with all your heroes and doing chance. And you have at least 10 units of the all Messiahs. Okay, going to vehicles. I do like the Ballistarius Iron Strider, but again, I wouldn't go overboard. Just like your your bread and butter is the Onager. That's very tanky. When upgraded to the Gatling rocket launcher, it becomes uh, very good. Again, it's not showing a ton of damage. This is range 2, range 3. Um, because again, you got to get the Dominus. When Dominus is next, and then you got the buff from the Marshal, like just the AoE passive buff. So you can see 16.7, and then if we were to buff it with the accuracy for imperative, which is this one, and that again 20.8. So yeah, you can see like damage is starting to get better, but their main thing is they're very tanky. Although dreadnoughts are obviously good for killing these type of units, but overall, if you were to do oh, that's -2 armor. Whoops. Okay. Anyways, it's giving me more movement, but yeah, I did the wrong one. I meant to do bulk work, but that just makes it go back to 9 now. Anyways, yeah. So those are the units you want to try to produce the most, and transports are really good with your basic Vanguard, and then also if you're doing lots of Electro Priests, very good mobility then. I don't care too much for the Batmans. Not a big fan of the Batmans. Why is just their damage is they're more good for clearing chaff units, but you have Vanguard, which is cheaper and gets the job done. So, but yeah, the jump ability is nice. Robots are you can hard build them or you can acquire them. Now in the mod they did increase the price for acquiring robots. It used to be 15, now it's 30, and that's good. It was too cheap, really. It's still kind of cheap, but if you have very good power and you're playing against maybe orcs, orcs is very bad versus robots. Their whole early game, the only real unit in orcs early game mid roster to kill robots effectively, maybe tank busters, but that's not even the best. I mean, and war boss, but other than that, everything else is like if they go vehicles or whatnot. Or besides, okay, no, the new DLC vehicle does okay damage, but overall, very good at controlling orcs. So that's, I think, a unit you want to try to acquire or build against orcs. Then you've got the late game armor techs here. So this thing is like a really good tank. Okay, and then this is like I win, GG. So I guess this is your, if the game stretches eternity, this is your goal. Get to knights. Okay. And that pretty much covers it. Oh, I didn't really talk about the heroes so much. Manipulus is your healer and stunner. Again, wing them. Here's some recommended items on each hero. Marshal, again, wing. And, well, I would say Marshal's the #1 hero to get the wing. Because Manipulus and Dominus can kind of tank somewhat. They're a little bit tankier heroes. But they're all good. If you're going hard building robots or acquiring robots, Manipulus is not bad. But let's jump into a single player skirmish here to go over a rough build order. Okay. So first thing with AdMech, you want to secure your science outpost right away. You want to get those right away because your first tech you're gonna pick is gonna boost the science outposts uh, resources. And so the more you acquire these, faster you're gonna tech, faster you're gonna get to expansion, faster you're gonna get to onagers or rangers or whatever. So very crucial that you kind of ignore other outposts and you get this, okay? Now, as far as putting your base on turn one, I would recommend you ideally want rocks and you want positive food. Uh, so looking if you do Control Z. The reason why you want positive food because you're the strongest, in my opinion, build with AdMech is doing an early barracks. Even if you don't plan to be going full blown infantry, I think that's the route you want to go with them. So, I mean, it's not negative food and it's 40, so I think we're gonna go there. Um, Influence is also really good to go because your buildings are giving 2 influence, but there's no rocks there, so I'm just gonna. Oh, no. Okay, my engineer can't reach there. Okay, so that's another thing. So the question is, do you want to do a turn 2? Probably not. Um, yeah, this is awkward. So I said never go negative food. I mean, yeah, there's no. I would stay positive. All right, so we could just plop, I guess, here. I mean, 2020. That's fine. I want to plop it more towards the map to give Overwatch fire. First one's going to be ore, and then power surge. Boom. And we're going to pick up that one. First tech. Okay, let's go over the techs. First tech's going to be this thing, which increases the flat amount of research per science outpost. Then second one's going to be Manufactorum. Okay, so tier 2 is interesting. Obviously, it's going to be Subcloister, that's your expansion tech. And then it's either going to be transports or tech priest manipulus. If you're planning to hard build robots, I would not get transport and just get tech priest manipulus and robots and tech priest dominus if you're going that route. But again, you got to have good power. Most builds, it's going to be expansion, subcluster, and transports. And then you're going to go, depending on if you're doing food, like infantry, it's going to be rangers and Electro Priests. If you're doing vehicle, if you have good power and food, you can go this plus this, Tech Priest Dominus. And then going to tier 4, just give me a second. Here. So you got tier 4 there. So tier 4, you always want to pick up Dogma, generally speaking. That's going to give you more armor piercing with assault weapons, and that's on a lot of your units. If you have very good power and you plan to go air, you can go cranes, or if you just like cranes in general and you just want to be a crane person, go cranes. The other thing is, if you're going to Electro Priest, I usually would go Dogma and Chant to boost your accuracy of your melee for priests right here. And if you're going armory, you want to beeline to here. Now, one thing I didn't mention, when picking up here, if you're only doing 1 cloister, okay, you only go 2 cloisters if there's robots nearby and you want to acquire them quickly, or if your power's really good and food's good and you can support that. If you're going one cloister, you want to pick up martial early. So like get this researched, then pick up martial, then do your transport. And he's cheap, produce him, put an icon on him, and then put a scroll on him. And my son just turned on the fan. Okay, whatever. Let's just keep going with this. And that's pretty, I'm not going to overcomplicate this, but that's in a sense what it looks like. Let's load a game here just to see what some of the cities look like. Now, you're going to have a 4-space hex, either doing 4 barracks or 4 armories. You can see here I got 4 armories. This one I went 1 cloister and then 1 barracks. You're always doing 1 barracks at the start. Or barracks and then expansion. You're doing 1 expansion building or 2 expansion building. It depends. And then you either do 4 barracks or 4 armories. Then population and then loyalty. And then that's sort of the general. I'm kind of a believer in, so in this case I'm going more vehicle. So this is my ore base, all ore, and you can build loyalty buildings. And the second one is power and food management with research buildings. Why you want to build maybe just a couple research buildings early on that 3rd city is so that you can get to those juicy techs that change the game, such as Cataphron, such as the disintegrator. Sorry, can't talk. Disintegrator, Night Crusader. Those are like literally game-changing units that will give you a much bigger advantage. In order to do that, you got to scroll up your heroes. And also in your 3rd base or 2nd base, depending how you put it down, you want a couple books. I would recommend that will bump your research super high, and with heroes being scrolled. Okay, and that is pretty much it for like build orders, really. Actually, I was fooling around in here. I wouldn't recommend getting every single tech. I was just trying stuff out. Ideally, you want to go two out of all of them as much as you can. You can double dip to get key techs that might help you in battle. I overdid it on tier 1 here because I was just testing things out. I wasn't. Anyways, I think I'm going to end it here because I don't want to make this too complicated for this guide. But this is a good, like, you want to play AdMech PVP. I feel pretty confident that these build orders are going to make good results. I guess the tricky part is when I mention like to do 2 cloister or 1 cloister. It really depends on the resources in your outposts that you have. Sometimes you can't do 2 cloister. You just don't have the good start location or the outposts. Again, so that's gonna be more of playing the game and getting an understanding of how your resources are. You don't. It's too complicated to explain it. Just me talking about it. You have to kind of play the game enough to understand if you can do that or not. And then getting good at the heroes and not like losing. Like you got to try to keep your heroes alive and your rangers alive. Also, you don't want to lose too many onagers. So that's the key thing. Using your chance. Gosh, my 2-year-old. Using your chance will give you the advantage in battle, but these give negatives. Now, the marshal has control edict, which if you did it, and then do your Imperial chant so you don't get the negatives. The only problem is that it consumes the action and movement. It's not a free action, which I do not like it, because if your attack or your push doesn't get the results you wanted, you can't wing him out. He's stuck there. He's very easy to kill. So I do not. I like what it does, but I don't like that it then makes your marshal maybe killable or not able to move after. Because usually you want to move him in the front and then wing out, get the attack buff, level him up. And so I never usually pick up this, but to work around these chants, you can move your units. Usually you want to do bulk work first and the turn, and then on your next turn, if the enemy did not stay in fight or is still staying in fighting, then you want to go into protective. For the most times, that's how you want to do it. Yeah. Make sure if you're going cataphrons to get their accuracy and their range deduction chance. That's very important. AdMech is not a rush faction per se. So you might say, well, then my opponent's going to just build double book or whatever. Well, here's the thing. What you can do is get a lot of map control. AdMech is pretty good at clearing everything except for like bastions in the early game. But you can grab a lot of map control. Even if your opponent goes like very greedy, no army. I mean, you can get level 1 scan with Dominus and scan his base to see if it's being guarded or not. If it's not being guarded, you could take the chance, go in with a bunch of Striders with other men and just hit that base. I think that's another key. In PvP, you got to, like, Dominus is good. Where's Dominus? I don't know. He's somewhere. But you can get the level 1 scan ability. You can only use it every 3 turns, but you're just going to use it, like, try to find where the base is. And that's a good target to use your free scan, because you can get a sense of how fortified his base is. And if it's not being protected, just you got your transports, just send everything down. Striders have 4 movement and hit that base. Not every faction has, well, a lot of factions have like scout bikes and things that can run in and turbo boost out and scan. That's generally what you want to do with bases. If it's well fortified, like with 2 to 3 units in hex spaces, you generally don't want to risk an attack on a base unless you know you have superior numbers in military or unit composition. So anyways, this is a quick guide, mainly quick build order and me going over the roster. The one last thing I would say is, when this third base, you want to manage power and food, and when you're teching to Cataphron, getting close to that, you want to build 2 barracks out of this one. And in this one, I went armor build with 1 barracks. I built additional barracks, so all I have 4 barracks, and you can pump a bunch of Cataphrons out. I mean, right now I've got a lot of Cataphrons and I'm negative, but that's all I need. So this is kind of like late game. I've got the best of 2 worlds. You've got Cataphrons and Disintegrators, followed up with the Knights coming out that we can build right here. Alright, so this is it for the guide. I will try to make a better one. My 2-year-old came in on my live stream and turned the fan on and make lots of noise, so it is what it is. Maybe I get